Hey guys, Rudy here. Gonna do a face cam this time, I guess. There's this lady I just kind of discovered who says very interesting things. Her name is Muses. She's got 40,000 subscribers. It's about, let me look at her channel real quick. I recommend her. Like I said, she says very interesting things. What caught my attention, this ended up in my recommendations, this mass stereo sweep the town thing.
This week, the link to that is at the bottom.
Pause. Where she was kind of going over this phenomenon of, I guess you could say mind viruses or mind worms. And I was going through her channel and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to check her out. She seems like she's got a cool head on her shoulders. And we're going to check out her YouTube channel. And I got my Three Amigos shirt on. See? Look, I'm Mexican, guys. Not really. Three Amigos. When I went to Cozumel, that cruise. I think I owned this actually before. It might have been a gift from a family member. I got a mess on my desk. Let's go over this. I watched the first 8 minutes or so, and she said a lot of interesting things. And to be honest, things I didn't agree with, but I really enjoyed the way she was expressing herself about it, as if she was thinking for herself. A little bit too much intellect for me, but a little bit too much book reading. But that's just the way it goes. When you start waking up, it's like prior to waking up, it has to be like the intellect. It's like the intellect first. It's like this weird phenomenon where when you're born, you're a spirit in a body, and you're like pure and untainted, right? So you can see my microphone, a big old boom mic. And you're a spirit in a body, and then the world begins corrupting you, and it's like you're corrupted by knowledge, corrupted by the intellect. That's the Adam and Eve story. It's like they ate from the tree of knowledge, and that corrupted them because too much knowledge is there's no wisdom in knowledge. Basically, it's about living your life and having life experiences rather than because raw knowledge is useless in a big way. So we're gonna kind of go over this 30-minute video. I'll probably end up watching the whole thing because I can't really skip around. If I were to watch it in advance, I would make timestamps and kind of get to my point. But so if y'all like these longer-winded kind of videos, then you're in for a treat, I suppose. I know I do. But let's just get to it.
Social and
We'll start from zero.
Hello, everybody. Today, I want to talk to you about a very important thing, something that keeps coming up, something that has been debated for millennia now, and that's basically freedom, free will. Is there such a thing as free will? Now, we hear this debate in the context of free will versus destiny versus fate. Do we have a choice in what our destiny is going to be, what our lives are going to be like, or is it determined by fate? People don't really believe in fate anymore. What we have now, our issue, our debate with free will is basically, do we have free will or are we being socially engineered? Social engineering through mass media, through slogans. We went over slogans in many other videos, these catchphrases, the actual mechanism by which we are programmed is more along the lines of slogans, jingles, you know what I mean? We talked about this, but this is not what this video is about. It's not about that. It's not about slogans. It's not about catchphrases. What this video is about is free will, and is it real? Now, full disclosure, I'm going to throw all my cards out on the table. I do believe in free will up to a certain point. I am one of these people. I can look at the evidence, and no matter what the evidence says, I know I have free will. However, there are a lot of asterisks after that statement, and when this plane passes, I will explain. Anyway, so free will. Do we have any free will, or are we programmed by forces that we can't even see, that we can't even perceive?
So I'm gonna stop her right off the bat. Y'all should know how I feel about free will. I don't believe there's free will at all. Mostly because it's a big subject on my channel where I'm basically say that we don't have free will because we're controlled by spirits and principalities that basically we're not in control of. The trauma that we go through as children, the trauma that our parents put us through, all the adults in our life put us through, those are the spirits that control us. And it's psychological, but to me, psychological and spirit are one and the same. So right off the bat, my basic premise is always going to be we don't have free will. Like for instance, when you're sleepy, you have nothing to do with that really. When you're hungry, you need to eat. You don't really have anything to do with that either. It's like the illusion of free will. Like I can go in the fridge and make a sandwich, but the knowledge of how to make that sandwich didn't come from me. I had nothing to do with that. I was taught how to make a sandwich. So that's to me, that's not really free will. And I mean, another person could easily debate that with me. But that's not what this video is about, right? Let's keep going.
There's another
I was actually really interested in the slogan thing. I wonder if she ever made a video about that, but I guess we'll see.
plane. It's okay. I'm gonna keep going. If this plane is too annoying, I don't know.
You must live near an airport or something.
It's already interrupted my train of thought. Many modern scholars who are familiar with the process of programming people via slogans, via online, via hashtags, some of these people, I won't say all of these people, have come to the conclusion that there is no such thing as free will. But I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true because I believe that once you are familiar with these things, then you can see around them. It's just that when they're there in your blind spot and you can't see them, then they can act on you. But as we discussed in the last video about the shadow, your shadow self and how it acts, but once you see it and embrace it, a lot of you didn't like my use of the term embrace. Once you see it and recognize it and see the mechanisms by which it works, then you can work around it. Now, of course, it could be like Inception, and then on the other side, there is just another larger bubble in which you are enclosed and you don't see that. But we can keep seeing the bubbles and popping them, and maybe we never pop the last bubble. So all of my cards on the table there, I am a believer in free will, but it can be manipulated. And we do it all the time, and we do it unconsciously just to get our way. This is called being manipulative. So we do it within our own social circle. Now people do it online. They're manipulative online through various means. It can be started by a larger force, like the tech companies can decide they want to socially engineer people. And they can, and we've seen that, and that's terrifying.
Seems to focus a lot on
that intro
slogans
is
and
just to preface this discussion.
Under
this
the
discussion
presupposition
is
of
on B.F.
what companies
Skinner,
can do
Beyond
to you,
Dignity
which
and
is really
Freedom.
interesting.
Skinner was a behaviorist. Skinner
Oh, to comment on the shadow self, I think that's Carl Jung, right? I don't really know much about Carl Jung other than he proposed the idea of the shadow self. I'm not sure what she means by that. I guess I'd have to watch another video of hers, but to me, when you recognize the shadow, to me it just means, I've been over it on my channel plenty of times where it's a two-headed coin, like a heads and tails kind of deal, where you're either one or the other at any given moment. And what I mean when I say you have to recognize your shadow self is to just understand that you've been traumatized and by your upbringing, and so embracing the shadow self would be like just having an understanding that you come from a more animalistic nature simply from being in these bodies. So when you integrate the shadow, to me, all that means is a, like she said, like a recognition. Not only to that you don't have free will, but also that you have the potential to be a monster, especially when you're dealing with young children. Like once you're a parent, you have to recognize that you're a lot bigger than your child, and you do have a shadow side that can creep up at any moment. Even somebody, let's say, who's been undergoing Zen, kind of like, let's just say for argument's sake, like Zen Buddhism training, where they learn to keep their emotions in check and to recognize the shadow and to control the shadow. But it's really the illusion of control, because you can never have total control over it. Like I did in my presentation where I talk about it in my You Arcane video. where it's like everyone walks around thinking they're Abel, but then they're really Cain. This one right here.
That's how God is.
And that's the to me that's what it means to embrace the shadow. It's not really a matter of embracing, but just having a more of an understanding that it's just a part of you, and it'll always be a part of you. This kind of more murderous side of your psyche. But to me, that's more part of the animal nature that all human beings share. And it really goes back to another video I did where I talked about how your mind is the enemy and your thoughts are the enemy. And about letting the ego go. You won't disappear if you let the ego go. Let's continue on.
Believed that behavior determined personality and not the other way around. And there's a lot of sense to be made in that, because your emotions, your simple thoughts are not really determining your day, they're not determining your life, whereas your behavior very much would. If you clean your...
But to me, emotions and behavior are one and the same. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Let me rewind.
Preface, companies can decide they want to socially engineer people, and they can, and we've seen that, and that's terrifying. So that intro is just to preface this discussion. This discussion is on B.F. Skinner, Beyond Dignity and Freedom. Skinner was a behaviorist. Skinner believed that behavior determined personality and not the other way around. And
oh, I see. Behavior determines personality. But you can't have behavior without... That doesn't make sense.
there's a lot of sense to be made in that, because your emotions, your simple thoughts are not really determining your day, they're not determining your life, whereas
But they do.
your behavior very much would. If you clean your room, you have a clean room.
But I mean, I've witnessed it firsthand with these people that come into where I work, and they practically act like schizophrenics, and it's the crazy thoughts, it's the emotions that are kind of governing their life, and they either don't know it or they're afraid to recognize it. And that's what I think a lot. I think that's what the shadow really is. Like, people are afraid to embrace their own shadow because they're afraid to face the mirror. They're afraid to face their own thoughts and look within themselves to see that they're the problem, that maybe the thoughts are the problem. Because a lot of people identify with their thoughts. They identify, and to me that's the same thing as identifying with your culture, your race, your ethnicity, your skin tone, all of that crap that society kind of pushes on you since you were a child. All that baggage is what determines your behavior, and those are wrapped up in emotions. And to me, it's all wickedness, it's all evil. It's what society pushes on us.
It doesn't matter if you feel like a clean person. It doesn't matter if you feel any of these things, if you have given yourself any of these adjectives, if you don't actually get up and clean your room. Now, this is contrary to thousands of years of philosophy where people believed that you were a soul, you were a person, he calls it autonomous man. You were autonomous man, and that being that is within you, that is inside of you, really determines the kind of person you are. He says, no, it's not autonomous man. It's not your soul. It's not...
I don't know much about Skinner, but he's dead wrong about
your personality that determines what kind of person...
So is this... I'm not familiar with him. So is this the crap that gets pushed onto like psychology students? Because I understand where the problem is now with society.
You are. It's your behavior, and your behavior will then determine your personality. He says something very interesting.
No, behavior and personality are one and the same.
He says you don't.
I know she's not saying things. She's just quoting Skinner. I get that.
You're scared because you run, so that even emotions are tied to your behavior, and your behavior comes first. And so, would that behavior then be instinct, because there is a personality to it? There's a very...
But fear comes from what happened to you as a child. Like, you're taught fear in a sense by your experiences as a child. That doesn't resonate with me at all.
For me to say, don't take everything he says literally.
Thanks. I won't.
Just because it's true doesn't mean it's 100% true. So just because I do a video on Beyond Freedom and Dignity, don't think that means that you don't have free will or you don't have a soul, or nothing that you do matters, or you can't make choices.
Well, I mean, good for me, because I don't think any of that's true, like, at all. Period. Nothing about that made sense.
Simply don't believe that's true, and I don't want to be irresponsible in presenting this information without that context. Before I bought this book, I went online and I read Goodreads, and Goodreads said that speciously argued and chilling in its implications, a manual for aspirant brainwashers. I mean, that's true. And I want to be responsible in presenting this information. And I'm going to be presenting a lot of information like this. And I'm doing it because these forces are acting on us already. So the information is out there. It's just not out there to everybody. And so everybody doesn't understand what forces are acting on them. But trust, the people at the social media companies do, advertisers do. So that's why I'm doing it, and I'm not doing it to be irresponsible. And I would advise anybody listening to this or studying the techniques of any psyops, mind manipulation techniques, to study them to defend yourself and not.
Hey, does making a catchy thumbnail, or like, let's say for instance, because I'll fully admit this, guys, I do put in my titles in my videos aren't meant to catch attention. For instance, someone kind of gave me crap for, and I don't blame them, because I deserve the crap that I got for that, but what was it was the one video where it was about the Bible. Oh, the Bible is a corpse and the Bible is the dead word, which is not, it's not like I was lying. Like, that was my premise, and let me back this up. That was my premise, and that's what I believe. So it's not like, that's not something I didn't believe at all. But I did put that title fully knowing that it was controversial. And to me, you have to be a little controversial in order to get people's attention, especially nowadays with this spiritual stuff. So in a sense, I do have to, there is a small degree of gaslighting when it comes to trying to get somebody to kind of see it your way. But because I've done that. I don't know if y'all listened to the I posted a video where Karina calls the Jessica Lee Peterson show, and she had a conversation with him, and she told him that she gave me a shout out, and basically said if it wasn't like I wanted to, through put it this way, like through Jessie, what I learned from Jessie I applied to her, because she hated her father for various reasons. I'm not gonna give the whole story, but when we first met, I'll give the quick story. When we first met and I started working with her, she started talking about her family, how she came about coming to Louisiana where she lived before and all that, and the topic of her father got brought up, and what she was telling me about her dad and her situation wasn't making sense, like, at all. So I just straight up asked her, is your father still alive? And she said, yes, my dad's still alive, he's in Texas. And I said, well, if you can get a hold of him, you need to call him and ask him about what happened in your situation, because what you're telling me doesn't make sense. So in a sense, that is a gaslight in a way, because I'm basically telling her that her memories are false or manipulated in some way. And it turns out that was the case, because I just knew it. I just know these things when it comes to talking with people. It's like, I can just tell the minute, let's say, dude, like, y'all have no idea what it's like, because let's say a mother and son, and when I say son, maybe like a 7-year-old son, they come into the store, and I can tell just right away what the relationship's like, because the little kid will kind of follow behind the mother but not really keep up, kind of, you know, drooping his head down, being all sad. It's like, that's obvious, right? But I'm saying it's a little more subtle than that a lot of times. But I get a vibe on people so easily now, and I'm not right all the time, obviously, but it's just like, it's almost like a gaslight when you deal with people, when I deal with people now. So there is a degree of manipulation, but the thing is, I admit to it fully. Like, that's what I'm doing. And you kind of have to with people, because this is like the situation we're in the world. It's like an extreme case, and then maybe that doesn't justify it, and y'all could think I'm a monster, and that's fine. I'm okay with people thinking I'm a monster. Like, it's just the way it is. Let's continue on. 20 minutes in the video, and we're not even 6 minutes through.
Use them to hurt other people. And you're saying, Maya, why would we
But you can't help it. Like, once you have the knowledge, you can't
not
help
use
it.
them to hurt other people if we can. This is assuming you're evil. Don't be evil. Embrace your
We are
shadow,
evil,
but
though.
don't be evil. If
You
your
can't help
shadow
but
is
be
telling
evil.
you that,
Humans are not good at all. And I'm not saying I don't love them. I'm just saying I know they're evil. I'm evil. Like, on that premise alone, don't trust things I say. Like, I want you to see it for yourself. Consider the things I say and see it for yourself. That's all I ever ask. Human beings are not good. There's nothing good about people at all. Okay?
listen and then be like, no, Shadow, I'm making a conscious decision to not be evil.
No, you
Well,
can't do
why
that.
not
It's
be
impossible.
evil? We could just as easily be evil and manipulate other people. Why should we not do
Right.
this? Well, there's this thing
She sounds
called
like uncanny
Pascal's
deduction.
wager. And Pascal's wager is basically believing God because the negative effects, the punishments you would get from not believing in God are so great that they outweigh any of the positive effects that you would get by being an atheist. So it's just like, yo, I'm at Vegas, I'm at spiritual Vegas, and I'm putting a bet down. So I'm going to bet, me
I like the
personally, I'm going to bet. I'm going to change Pascal's wager a little bit, and I'm going to say that karma is a thing, whether coming to you from in this life or in the next. That karma is a real thing, and if you use these techniques to be evil, that it's going to come back to you.
It is a real thing, though.
Do I?
It is a real thing, but it's been put onto the public as something that's mystical and magical. And karma just means you're doing. I've talked about it before. Karma just means it's something you did. You did it. You climb the highest ladder, you climb the highest tree, and you fell. That's your karma. You did it. That's what that means.
Do I have any proof of this? No. But if I'm going to go to spiritual Vegas and put money down, I'm going to say that this stuff is going to come back to you if you use it for evil or to manipulate other people. I just think to live in this world.
You're punished, and it's not even a punishment. You get kicked back on by reality itself the moment you do what you're not supposed to. That's why I use the metaphor of falling from a tree, climbing a tree and falling down. Like, you've already been punished, but you did it yourself. You punished yourself. There isn't some mystical, magical entity that punishes you. God does not punish. He doesn't reward either.
World, you have to have a sense of right and wrong. And a lot of people don't, because there's like, well, there's no absolute right and there's no absolute wrong. That may be true. You may be able to defend that with all the science that we have at our disposal. However, we don't know everything. Not all of the knowledge is at our disposal. And for thousands of years,
knowledge.
people have advised us not to manipulate others, not to do bad things, and to instead to do good things. So maybe don't manipulate people, because you wouldn't want to be manipulated. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself.
But I've already demonstrated that there's a certain degree of gaslighting that's almost required when you're dealing with when you're dealing with children.
And so it's always good to have a base you can fall back on morally, so that you know, I'm not going to do this. So if you say, I'm not going to do this because it's wrong, or I'm not going to do this because there's going to be punishment that I can't foresee right now with my limited knowledge, whatever. Just don't use whatever you read about in this book.
The punishment doesn't really
For
exist.
evil.
What's really funny though is she's kind of describing Christians when it comes to this Pascal's what was it, wager? Like it's the Christians are really have all their chips in, or maybe not all their chips, but have their chips in on this Christianity thing, or whatever sect of Christianity, like Catholicism or baptism or whatever, Baptist, Jehovah Witness. They pushed all their chips on that wage, man, and it's like, she just described the Christians. Like, she's not describing atheists. Maybe atheists are doing that to a degree, but from what I've witnessed from the Christians around here, they got, and it is a matter of wagering, because they don't have real faith. They can't see. They think God is a magical genie, and they don't really necessarily, they can say it, they understand the words. If I were to say God is an all-loving father, they just understand the words. They don't really see with their peepers, with their spiritual peepers. That'll be the thumbnail.
And this is not the whole book. It's a very dense book. So I'm just going to go through a few parts that I found the most interesting and let you know from there. Chapter 1 is called A Technology of Behavior. because in a certain way you can manipulate it like a technology, which is scary. It's kind of scary. Anyway, in this first chapter, he does not think highly of ancient Greek philosophy. He says it's outdated, that we've come far in
Marcus
almost
Aurelius
every
is
other
awesome.
science,
But that's more Roman,
as
isn't it?
far as society, as far as philosophy, we have not gotten much farther than Plato.
Who's that?
This is a quote on page 6. He says, whereas Greek physics and biology, no matter how crude, led eventually to modern science, Greek theories of human behavior led nowhere. If they are with us today, it is not because they possessed some kind of eternal verity, but because they did not contain the seed of anything better.
That doesn't make sense, because if there are Greek theories on human behavior that were being spread out into the collective unconscious, then it's going to affect the physics and biology. This B.F. Skinner dude is just... People take this dude seriously?
Burn.
It's not a burn.
He's like, I can't even work with
But
this. There isn't
okay.
anything to work with.
There's
That's
plenty
why
to
we
work
have not
with.
advanced in philosophy.
He's a
not
fucking
because
moron.
we've plateaued, but because they didn't give us anything to work with, and for some reason we're still depending on these people. He's like, no, let's move past that. Let's figure out ways that we can manipulate human behavior. Now, you can manipulate human behavior for good, or you can manipulate human behavior for evil. It's up to the person. That goes down to, well, what is inside of us?
I mean, that's what the religious institutions attempted to do, was to manipulate people to do good. But we all know that don't work. That it just don't work, guys. You can't manipulate people to be good at all. It doesn't work. It really doesn't work. If they do good, quote unquote, let's say feeding the hunger, let's say for feeding the homeless and I don't know, keeping a pit bull from gnawing your child's face off, there's always a selfishness involved, and there's nothing good that comes out of selfishness. It's always evil. Almost like 99.999% of human behavior and action is evil. Okay?
Because if you can manipulate it for good, yeah, but we're not mostly good.
No.
Or we're only half good, or good is not as
Man, I just said 99 point whatever percent. We are not half good.
powerful. Well, you've created a technology that will be used for evil. So my feeling on this is, yes, he is bringing us a new technology of behaviorism. It's a social technology, whatever you want to call it. And for hundreds and thousands of years, we've been dealing with the old technology. So he's bringing us something new. So in that way, are we...
Okay, I had to kind of think about what he meant by technology, and I think he means like philosophy, right?
dealing with
Because philosophy would be considered technology, sort of.
The growing pains
I could be
of a
misunderstanding.
new social science, the growing pains
Social science,
of
so
a
yeah.
new philosophy of
Yeah.
behavior, and like what we had growing pains, just like we had growing pains.
But the
when
ancient
we
Greeks
got
and
the
Romans
printing
had it
press,
going
just
on.
like we had growing pains when we got social media. So are we just dealing with those growing pains of behaviorism? I'm letting you know right now, this is being used on you. If you're online, which you are online because you're watching me, this stuff is being used on you. So
Yep.
what else did I want to say?
He's
So
right
in
about
this
that.
chapter, he says, the inner man has been created in the image of the outer. So we went over that earlier in the video, and we talk about how our actions determine our personality, not our personality determine our actions. I'm just gonna say, I don't know if that's true. There seems to be a wide range of personalities, and they seem to determine how people, determine the courses of people's lives, determine their actions. Now, those things can
Yeah.
be manipulated. So,
Mhm.
because our parents get us to act in ways initially when we're first
Hey,
born.
we
And
go.
so that can help determine our personality. But parents with 4 or 5 kids will say, yo, they all came out different. So I don't really know.
Because the woman who birthed them, that came out of the birth canal, she was in a different state of mind every time she had the new child. If the woman has anger, which is 9 times out of 10 when she's given birth or even has the baby in the womb, because the child spends 9 months with that woman, and you and I both know women have a lot of anger issues, a lot of anger. This period, everybody has anger issues, but I'm saying women in particular, the thoughts are crazy, their minds are just are crazy. And the video I watched of hers before actually talked about this a little bit. She kind of, skin over it a little bit, but She was onto something. Um, so if you have 5 kids, I mean, you're spending 9 months. That lady's spending 9 months with that kid in her body, and she's gonna pass down that anger, no matter what. And that's why they all have different personalities.
Now, he points out that if you can get people to act in certain ways, then you can get them to believe different things about themselves as well. The absolute most basic thing you must understand about behaviorism, the absolute most basic thing you have to understand about self-training or training of another thing, even like a dog, is positive and negative reinforcement. So this also goes with children. I don't know why I went with dogs first, because I have a dog. Don't yet have a child, but I have a dog, and so I said training like a dog, but also with children, you get positive.
What are them dog
and
nutters?
Negative reinforcements. And negative reinforcement, that's like punishment, that's like hitting, that's like insulting, or silent treatment is even a negative reinforcement. And positive
I understand you have to, let me let her finish.
reinforcement, that's like a reward, that's like you get a cookie, you get a pat on the head, you get invited to the party. So now these are positive reinforcements for.
I don't think this woman has kids. Because you do that with dogs, you do that with animals. Human beings they're animals as well, but they're a different kind of, because they already have the satanic kind of, and I know she's not going off this supposition, but I am. I go off the premise and supposition that it's Satan's thoughts in our head the moment we're pushed out of our mama's womb, the moment we begin speaking language is when the thoughts begin. And how you train a dog is not how you train a human. So positive and negative reinforcements, I kind of get what she's saying, but it's not a 1-to-1 ratio when in terms of how you want to treat a child compared to a dog.
For behavior, whereas the negative is the exact opposite. You get shunned. Now we see online
you do not shun your child at any point.
A lot of positive and negative reinforcements working on people to get them to believe certain things.
And I'm not saying she would do this. She's probably saying it more under the I don't know, the auspices of what a company would do. I don't even know if I'm using that word right. It sounded good at the time.
Especially within echo chambers. Now, what is funny? And I know you're going to say, that's not funny. That's dark and depressing. But what is so funny to me is that human beings, we have learned in the past 10 years, human beings will take something as cheap as a like as a positive reinforcement. What is a like? It's literally nothing. It's somebody out there. You don't know if this person's real or not. You don't know what their relationship is to you, or what they thought, or why they liked it, or why they didn't like it. Somebody out there will, boop, like one of your things, like a post you made, like or whatever. And that encourages you to do more of that. Or they might dislike it or say something nasty, and that discourages you from doing something like that.
That's like called engagement.
A like is nothing. A like is
a view. What's a view?
Coin. And basically we're seeing right now that human beings will do anything for this virtual coin. At least monkeys in these experiments, you have to give them bananas. You have to give them grapes. Okay? People are dumber than monkeys, because at least a monkey knows what a real thing is. Okay,
I'd rather take a banana than a like.
Because that freaks me out. Like the very concept of that a
Why?
like, a little pat on the head, a virtual pat on the head, which is
pretty funny.
A virtual anything is a tenth of a real thing at best.
What about a comment?
So a virtual pat on the head, people are willing to bend over backwards for. This is the little prodding, little zip, zap, 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 zap prodding that forces beyond our control, whether they be tech or whatever, use to keep us in line, to keep us in the boundaries. It's kind of like an electric fence. You can't really see it, but it's there, and it's there through positive and negative reinforcements.
Our minds are
I
like
mentioned this in another video, but that's
the crown
okay.
of
I
thorns.
mentioned it in the self-programming video, which is a very good video on how to get around this stuff. Real quick, what is the definition of want? A person wants something if he acts to get it when the occasion arises. This is what I mean. Actions speak louder than words. How many people do you know who say, I want this, I want that, I want a relationship, I want a partner, I want a home, I want to be healthy, I want, and then when it's time to put in the action, to get those things, they won't do it. Okay, this applies to individuals, this applies
It's
to
a fantasy.
society, this applies across the board. Want. If
It's more like the idea of having the thing rather than actually having the thing. 9 times out of 10.
something wants something, they will get up and go get it.
Because I want a lot of things.
So ladies, he would have called you back if he wanted to talk to you. Be grateful he didn't waste your time on some villainous shit. This is about the morality of using these techniques to control other
Morales.
people. Page 43, Skinner writes, "It has been forced to brand all control as wrong and to misrepresent many of the advantages to be gained from a social environment. It is unprepared for the next step, which is not to free men from control, but to analyze and change the kinds of control to which they are exposed."
This man is a demon.
Okay, now that's sociopathic. That's
I'm glad
social
we
engineering.
agree.
We are being socially engineered.
I like this girl
Online media,
like a lot.
and before that through
really
television,
smart.
and before that through the radio, and before that through print. All of these technologies of communication are also used for social control. Now, why do people believe that there is no free will? Okay, well, it goes back to
can tell you why.
childhood when our parents initially trained us. If you zap a person enough, a dog enough, or whatever, it doesn't have to be a physical zap, it can be a reprimand. If you do that enough, then eventually you don't have to slap them. That reprimand is kind of programmed in their mind. It's kind of associated with that action. So this is Pavlov's dog with the bell. Eventually the dog starts salivating at the bell.
Like the
Really
truthers.
bring that back. Pavlov's dog, he did an experiment where he would ring a bell, and every time the bell rang, he'd give the dog a treat. Now, after a while, he no longer had to give the treat. He just could ring the bell, and the dog would start salivating. So keep that in mind. This is how you train a child or a dog, or I don't
Train
know
a
what else is
child.
trained.
Come on,
You
man.
can't train a cat, okay? We only got 3 things in this house,
Yeah,
okay?
you can
It's
train a
human,
cat.
dog, cat. Cats are not
Sure.
getting trained. This is why I respect cats.
That's why cats are
This is why I
bosses.
believe there's
Yeah.
such a thing as free will, because you can't tell a cat anything. Okay, page 91. A person
Yeah, my cat knows though when I'm unhappy. Let's put it that way.
never becomes truly self-reliant. We're under the
Really?
control of more subtle and more useful stimuli. At some point, that control becomes internalized, and B.F. Skinner says a person never becomes truly self-reliant. They're always dependent on some level of control, whether that level came from what they just experienced at their job, at their boss, they're, in their 20s and 30s, they're 28 years old, and now they're like this because they're been repeatedly reinforced through their work culture to be a certain way. And so that's one level of control. Okay, free yourself from that. Okay, now we go back onto the college level of
Yeah, I'm
control,
free
where
from
they were repeatedly reinforced to act a certain way.
I didn't go to college,
there.
so it doesn't
That's
apply
just
to
a
me.
different level of
But
control.
I understand.
If you
She's
take
giving
that away,
examples.
then we go back to high school. If you
Keep
take
listening.
that away, then you go back to childhood. And do we go back? You can't remember how
The
we
Russian
were
nesting
born.
dolls.
Most of
Hey,
us don't
she's-
remember being babies.
hey,
and what
she's
we thought
figuring it out.
about as babies.
Just go back, like I say all the time, you go back and back and back, and it goes all the way to these two assholes named Adam and Eve. You hear me?
So he's making the point that we're never truly self-reliant. We always fall back onto a different level of reinforcement of control.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
yep.
interesting.
That's part of the problem.
Propaganda can work in the same way. Propaganda works very well. These repeated slogans, hashtags. Now it's hashtag activism. This is still propaganda. It's the sloganism of the 30s. You know what I mean? It's very, very similar, and the way that it works on us is very similar. Okay. And with propaganda, we get positively reinforced when we say what the team wants. This goes back to groupthink. And this doesn't really have anything to do with what is objective
Culture.
reality either.
She hasn't mentioned family
The
yet.
point isn't to make sense.
Your familia.
The point is to agree. All this is
'Cause,
being reinforced.
Like your family, I've talked about it a lot. Your family be the first to pathologize you, and I talked about that in your toxic family video, which y'all need to go watch because it's I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna pat myself on the back.
Reinforced by the group, being reinforced by the peers. And we want to be reinforced by our peers because we don't want to be sent into exile, because way back in the day when
I
we
don't
were
have
coming
peers.
up, when I mean like way back in the day, I mean like 100,000 years ago,
Except for my coworkers,
back
I
in the
guess.
day. And also, if we were to cut shot to 100,000 years ago, everybody got an afro. Because whenever we change time, whenever we go back in time, I don't care what time we go back to, the people have afros. This is a rule of the flashback sequence. Yeah, but propaganda and brainwashing. So we go, wait a second. Back in the day, 100,000 years ago, picture in your mind, there's a bunch of hunter-gatherers and they have 70s afros. And the last thing you want is to be exiled because you need the group, you need the protection of the group. And that's the thing that makes humans so much stronger than other species. And also what made us so much stronger than other Homo sapiens species, like the Neanderthals, is that we are very cohesive in a group. So what is good about that is also bad about that, because
right.
we're subject to
100%.
groupthink, we're subject to reprimand.
There needs to be
these things,
like, for the world to keep spinning, the ball. Oh no, the ball. But in order for the world to keep producing, right? People have to be NPCs. People have to conform to groupthink. Like, it's like a necessity, and only a few are gonna wake up. Like the Tower of Babel story, where the people are building a tower to heaven or whatever they were doing, right? I don't care about the details. And God takes it down and separates them all. It has them speaking different languages, different cultures, different skin tones. That way, they have to wake up from the psychosis. Only the chosen few, it's like a filtering system. The chosen few will wake up and return to him with the capital H. That's the Tower of Babel story. Only a few will recognize the narrow road and go down it. Everybody else, they have to be NPCs in order for the world to function.
what is right.
So it's almost like necessary, like this propaganda thing. Like, it's like it's yin and yang. It's like there has to be a balance. Like, the world, I've talked about it. I don't know if I've talked about that on my channel, where I basically just say, if everybody woke up, we'd stop having babies and the world would just come to an end. People would stop going to work. It would be a disaster.
Right, what is wrong. It might not have to do with objective reality. It might have something to do with what is popular at that moment. So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm gonna cover what he has to say on culture in another video because it's really interesting and it really goes along with Rome 2 Electric Boogaloo, which some people don't understand, and I'm kind of mad about it. So I'm not going to explain it because I already made a video. I'm not gonna just go and keep explaining stuff. So I guess I should make a video about the Black Iron Prison and Philip K. Dick. Okay, real quick. The Black Iron Prison is culture, particularly Western culture, and that is not a bad thing. Once, in a cheap science fiction novel, Fat had come across a perfect description of the Black Iron Prison, but set in the far future. So if you superimpose the past, ancient Rome, over the present, California in the 20th century, and superimpose the far future world of the android Cried Me a River over that, you got the Empire as the supra or trans-temporal constant. Everyone who ever lived was literally surrounded by the iron walls of the prison. They were all inside it, and none of them knew it. Philip
But that's
K.
your own
Dick.
mind, in my opinion.
Very quickly.
We were
what
tricked
must
into, Adam and Eve were tricked into being prisoners in their own minds. I don't know, I understand what this person's saying with this, what is it? Iron walls metaphor. But to me, that was the fall of Adam and Eve. I keep going back to that because it makes so much sense. Where Adam and Eve were tricked into becoming, or more like Eve was tricked into becoming a prisoner in her own mind. Those are the iron walls, the thoughts. Like, I'm not letting go of that because it makes too much sense.
Understand about a culture, and this does go into Rome 2 Electric Boogaloo because we are Rome reincarnated and a little bit better and a little bit worse. What do you want? There's good and bad.
Probably a lot worse.
This goes into that. What is
It's
a
like
culture?
amplified.
A culture is reinforcing habits. So when we even speak
toxic.
our language, when we use a dollar, when we drive the roads, and when we buy gas to drive the roads, we are reinforcing our culture. When we wear clothes that are of our culture, this is a, what's this shirt?
Is this Sesame Street? Nice.
That shirt is culturally significant to most of you. It might not be culturally significant to somebody else, but for y'all know what that means. And it's also in the style of Western clothes, modern culture. So even by doing these actions, we are reinforcing the culture. So that's basically what culture is. It's what we eat, it's what we wear, it's how we speak. it's what we watch, and I'll do another video, but we're seeing now that we're having so many different pockets of culture that it's very fragmented, very splintered. Regardless, back to this.
That's the Tower of Babel story, sister.
Back to freedom, back to dignity. Okay.
You're right, yeah.
So,
yep. She's absolutely right.
The technologies for social control, the technologies for behaviorism. We're seeing it, it's YouTube. The technologies include Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And also, you know, back in the day, we had just face-to-face. There was a time many years ago where people would leave their house and they would know their neighbor. A neighbor is a person who lives in close proximity to you, for all you Gen Zers out there. But they would know their neighbor and they would go talk to their neighbor face to face. So these reinforcing things were happening face to face. Now, this was a long time ago. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to see a person in real life. I know that's scary, but there was a time where we talked to each other in real life. So these are the methods that we use to reinforce behavior. So this is what Skinner has to say about that. Such a technology is ethically neutral. It can be used by villain or saint. There is nothing in the methodology which determines the values governing its use. And yet, sneaky people always find a way to use it, huh? Sneaky people always get there first, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, here we are.
Evil's always
Coming
like
to
10
the end
steps
of this
ahead.
video. I'm not saying I
Like
disagree with him.
Like the people who are actively being evil are always 10 steps ahead. Think of the Not Noke, right? 100 steps ahead, but they still don't understand this realm. So it's like they're losers, in my opinion. Like they're powerless
At all. In fact, I very much agree with him. Like, this is how you program
That it's
yourself. This is
neutral?
how you program another person. It works.
Oh, I see.
I'm
Program
sorry, but it
yourself, though?
works.
Can you
And
give an
it
example?
works to an alarming degree, as we have seen over the past few years. We'll go into it more on this channel, but it works
Oh my lord.
a freakish
I don't wanna-
amount, and we should all be
Where'd
scared
you-
of that. But that
where is
doesn't
it?
mean that's the only thing that there is. Like, we are responsible for our own decisions, especially after watching these videos, because you see what is acting on you. So the more you learn about what is acting on you, the more free will you have, the more choices you have. Sometimes you don't have a choice because you don't know that there is a choice. And then when you see that there is a choice, then you can take that choice.
I wish you'd
Somebody
give
who
an
wears
example.
togas all the time might say, I wear a toga, that's the only kind of clothing there is. And then they go to a shop and it's like, oh, there are many different kinds of clothing. I don't have to wear a toga all the time. So we do have choices once we are exposed to choices. So that's one of the reasons I don't personally think that this is all that
I
there
see what
is.
you're
And there
saying.
are different ways to develop your free will. There's this philosophy.
It's like if I look in the yellow pages and I don't know, I'm looking for a plumber, and let's say for instance there's a place I know called Max Plumbing, and I only know Max Plumbing. They go out of business. Well, and for you Zoomers out there, the yellow pages is like a phone book. You know what a phone is, right? You take the phone book, it's got white pages and yellow pages. White pages had residential, yellow pages is business. You open up the yellow pages, or let's say you go to Google, open up the yellow pages and you go to the P's, there's your plumbers for the local area, and now you have choices, right? But that's not free will. That's you looking in a phone book, Googling something, Googling blah 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 plumber in my town near me. That's not, I mean, that's a choice, but it's not free will. I know she's probably talking more metaphysically, psychologically, philosophy, but it's like you're just being given more options. That's not free will. Like if I ate the bologna sandwich, if I could have had a bologna sandwich or a roast beef, but you know, I also could have had a cheese sandwich. That's not free will. That's an illusion. That's like the illusion of free will. I'm not. I mean, that's a choice, but it's not free will. That doesn't make sense.
Philosopher called Gurdjieff, and he was
This whole,
Turkish, I believe. And
Skinner thing. The Skinner
his
guy's a
major
hack.
contribution, or one of his many contributions,
He's a
this
hack
man's
fraud.
Genius.
Put it that way. Who's
Anyway,
this?
he believes that we don't
I was talking
all
over.
need different kinds of clothing. I don't have to wear a toga all the time. That's one of the
Yep.
reasons I don't personally think that this is all that there is, and there are different ways to develop your free will. There's this philosopher called Gurdjieff, and he was Turkish, I believe, and his major contribution, or one of his many contributions, because this man's a genius.
Really?
Anyway, he believes that we don't all have a soul at birth. In fact, through our actions
So if I look him up and find out he's an idiot,
in life, we earn a soul. And so Lisa Simpson referenced
my
him.
you don't get to reference the Simpsons when it comes to metaphysics. You just don't. Lisa Simpson is a moron. She's one of those fake fucking liberal jackass Buddhists that think that they have a hammer and all they see is nails. That's Lisa Simpson. Lisa Simpson is a jackass.
On the episode of The Simpsons where Bart sells his soul. That's in reference.
Yeah, I remember that
to
episode.
Jeff. So he's believing, okay, we're not all born with a soul, we earn it. Now, in Western traditions...
So you got that from Lisa Simpson and then you looked it up, who it came from. You could have just left it at that. Why would you admit you got that from a Simpsons episode? That is embarrassing.
We associate free will with a soul. So maybe there's something to be said that the more we learn, the more we can earn a soul.
No.
Okay, what do you think about that idea? Do you think everybody is born with a soul, or do you think they can be...
In terms of waking up, your soul in a body the moment you're in the mother's womb. The moment you're... Who knows? It may go further than that. You're put on this planet as a spiritual being from being as the very moment you pop out of that vagina.
Manipulated through these techniques, and he's showing us these techniques, and I honestly think he's showing us these techniques to be helpful. Skinner. Like the people who invented the atom bomb, I do think they invented the atom bomb to be helpful. However, oftentimes they can be misused.
You do not make a weapon like that and expect good things to come out of it.
And we know from The Social Network, it wasn't The Social Network, what was that movie? That documentary.
Oh man, that reminds me, I need to talk about nuclear disarmament again. Oh man, I have free time now, guys, and a little bit of free time, and this is what I choose to do.
Anyway, we know that they are being
I like her a lot. I really do.
But in my opinion,
like, I'm not trying to put her down. I like her a lot. She's very she's got some wisdom, and I can see the wisdom in her eyes, if that makes sense. She's seeking, and that's what I kind of see in her. That's why I like her.
The solution isn't to say, oh, I'm going to reject the internet. Oh, I'm going to reject this. It's to be like, oh, okay, this is how it's being misused.
You don't have to do that.
And how can we still get value out of this technology without succumbing to all of the disastrous
use it as a
effects.
weapon.
So that's where I am on that.
It's kind of what my channel is about.
I believe we have free will. I believe I have free will.
Cool.
I believe some other people have free will. However, I understand
So, for instance, this lady, I don't know, let's say she has I'm just going to throw this out there. She has a struggle. She struggles with chocolate cake, right? Because everybody has issues. The two big issues that people have, food and sex. And food is a big one. To me, food kind of supersedes all that because you have to eat food. You don't necessarily have to have sex. But it's still a problem. It's still an issue that people have problems with overcoming. So let's say she has real big trouble with, let's say she goes to the store and she sees a chocolate cake. She just compulsively gets it. And that, to me, that's like, if you have free will, can you will yourself not to buy the cake? I mean, answer is probably yes, but you didn't do it. There is no free will. You did it anyway. If you had free will, you would will yourself to do the right thing at all times. At all times. Period. That's what free will would be. And I'm a Christian. Like, I'm not the atheist. I don't know what her religious beliefs are. She seems to be really heavy into philosophy, which is great. Because to me, that's a good path. Buddhism's a good path. Because it'll lead you back into Christianity. That's what it did for me. I was a nasty atheist for a while. I discovered Buddhism. I discovered philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, Alan Watts, Confucius, all of them. And it's like, I still like them a lot. I don't just dismiss them because they led me on the path. And I discovered Christianity again. And you can't help but be a Christian once you wake up. It's just impossible not to, in my opinion. Because I'll have to get into that sometime. Let's finish this video.
Our actual lives, it has been proven to us that people are very easy to manipulate through positive and negative reinforcements.
Because
Like,
because most people are asleep. They're NPCs. They stay asleep because they are willfully asleep at all times. And that's why they're easy to manipulate.
I like that you did that. What is a like? It's nothing. It's the cheapest thing in the world. It's not even a cookie. A cookie now is like a marriage proposal. Okay, I had questions for you though. This goes both ways, okay? This isn't just me talking at you, you talk at me back.
Oh.
So my questions for you, friends in the audience, is social media ethically neutral? Is social engineering ethically neutral, as Skinner seems to say? Also, what is free will? Is free will a soul or is free will different? What is free will? Is free will ethically neutral, as Skinner seems to say? Also, what is free will? Is free will a soul or is free will different? What is free will? Don't even associate it with the soul.
What is...
I do, just because.
No.
But what is free will? Do you have free will?
No.
Does everybody have free will? Also,
No.
I don't like this non-player character thing, and we'll go into that in another video.
I just called them NPCs.
However, brilliant philosophers have said that we do have to earn our...
But it's kind of mean, but NPC is the best word I got because I don't know what else to use by this point. People act like NPCs. I see it every day. They're just going about their lives, not paying attention, not paying attention to their own actions or what they say. They're so wrapped up in their thoughts and their emotions and their feelings that it's just like they're zombies. Like, I really think that, and I'm not putting people down. I love these people. It's like I want the best for them. Like, I want people to wake up.
Our soul, but I still don't believe in this non-player character kind of stuff. I think it's mean, and I think it leads to cruel things, and I don't think we have to be cruel or unkind.
But I'm not going to treat people like they're NPCs. I don't. Like, I'm going to treat you like the way I want to be treated. Treat me like a person. I'm going to treat them like a person until they prove otherwise, which they do sometimes. It's like they're proving to me that they see me as an NPC because they just see me as whatever, like the guy that works at the store. And that's all I am to some people. And that's fine. I'm okay with being an NPC. Like, I go to work, I play the NPC role to make money, and I'm okay with that. I take off the mask. I have to wear the clown makeup at work. And here I am. Clown makeup's off. Wow.
To anybody. So
not a big
that's
deal.
where I am on this. Please do not use this information for evil because Pascal's wager says it's going to come back and get you.
That is true. But I've said it before. The thing about karma, it's almost as if the reality itself kickbacks on you. Like the moment you do something wicked that you just know you're not supposed to do. And it's just, but it's not God. It's not some magical entity like karma. It's just like, I've been over this so many times and I already have a video about free will, so I don't have to answer that damn question. Hey lady, go watch my video about free will and tell me if you agree with me. You're probably gonna disagree, that's fine. Maybe I'll email her. Maybe I'll find her email and be like, hey, I responded to your video. It was really interesting. I really like your stuff. Which that doesn't scare me, I'll do it. But my only hesitation is, which I don't think she would do, she'd probably just email me back, but if she somehow makes a response video, I don't want that kind of attention. Like, she's got 40,000 followers, subscribers, and I don't want trolls. I really don't. I don't want, especially like on the level of Matt McKinley or these other dudes who are just so vile. And it's like, it's fine, I can take it, but I'd rather just not deal with that negativity. And if I had to just turn my comments off and make my, I don't know. Oh look, Dangerous Christians, the perfect cult. What is this? Let me click it real quick.
All of this time, and acted. If you're a peasant or a noble person.
Oh, she's talking about Christianity back in the day. The Cathars. Who the hell are those? I don't know. But there's some videos here I kind of want to watch. Free or happy slaves. Oh, that's the free will. Okay. She may have made a follow-up video with stuff like this, how they brainwash you. I'll probably watch those on my own. I'm gonna watch more of her stuff on my own. That way these videos can be a little quicker next time I get free time. hopefully there's so much stuff I want to talk about, guys, and it's just like I don't have enough free time to do it all the way I want to do, like this setup. I like having the face cam and the OBS, and doing it from my phone gets a little tiring sometimes. Like I just really want to relax in my computer chair. And I think I'm done with this video. I'll probably upload it. It's Saturday, May the 6th. I'll probably upload it Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm trying to average out 2 videos a week, and if it doesn't happen, it's whatever, but that'll fill up that at least. I could break this video up to a part 1 and part 2, but I'm not. It's an hour long video, and I think a lot of people like that. And if y'all don't, just let me know. Well, you'll just have to deal with it either way. Anyway, cool chick. Her name is Maye Muses. Some of y'all might like her. Black lady or mixed or something. She's something.
The laser pointer.
Some kind of she's not white. She's not Caucasian. But I don't look Hispanic, so I don't look Mexican, so it's whatever. Playful take on modern American life, fitness, and art. Talks about fitness. What's her most popular video? Let's see. Father Divine. Most important cult you never heard of. Black excellence gone wrong. That sounds super interesting. She had videos about the Black Hebrew Israelites. Those guys are something else. You ever encountered one or kind of dealt with one? They're a special breed of people. They're interesting people. Is this world a prison? Look, the Black Iron Prison. She talks about it. There's a lot of, I want to kind of go over all her stuff. Not on my channel, but just like listen to it, because she's got some interesting ideas that I really like, to be honest. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.